Look, let's focus first of all on this report then from East Kent Hospitals University NHS Foundation Trust. What's your understanding as to what happened there?
I actually read the report and I understood that there were babies who were around a few hours old and up to a few weeks old, and their lives were lost. So there has been some errors somewhere with their antenatal care, labour care and neonatal care, perhaps.
Yeah, and what are the challenges at the moment facing? I mean, obviously, maybe you can't comment in detail about this specific case, but what are the challenges that midwives face?
The most important challenge that we are all facing is shortage of staff, the staff shortages. And I always say it's probably funding, you know. Staff shortages is putting a massive strain on staff and consequently is going to be the women who are getting at the end not the good deal.
From this report, from what I could see, they were saying that lessons were learned and that the concerns of families were dismissed. Two things that, as a prospective parent, when you're going to look at where you're going to have your baby, if you hear those things, those are absolute red flags. I mean, why would you dismiss the concerns of worried parents?
Massive, because we don't tend to learn from previous experiences and previous mistakes or errors. You remember I came here and we were discussing the Ockenden report. And really, if we are going to be learning with what has happened before, we should have learned by now because there were recommendations. But again, those recommendations are all well and good. But once you want to put it in practice and you haven't got the adequate staffing, it makes life very difficult.
So give us an example, give us an insight into a day in the life of a midwife, of someone working on a maternity ward, how much busier it is because there aren't enough staff.
It is a lot busier because when I look at the unit that I used to work in, how many women we were delivering, how many babies we had and how many staff we had per shift. Yeah. Now we are still running with the same number of staff, but our delivery rate has actually nearly doubled.
Right. So are staff doing longer days, or are they just trying to cram more into one shift?
Well, we are doing longer days now because we are now doing 2 shifts of 12 and 13-hour shifts. And these are the staff who are working for 12, 13 hours night duty without a break.
And this is what you are retired, but this is what you are hearing from people who are still working in the profession. Yes. And are they thinking of staying in the profession or leaving because of it? Is it kind of a self-fulfilling thing?
At the moment, the girls that I'm in touch with, which is quite a few girls, they are all staying, but they are all at the situation in life and the place in their lives that they can't afford not to be there. But we have got a lot of newly qualified staff, and that is where the problem with retention comes. Your retention are not the people who are older in the job. Your retention are the newly qualified.
Who come in and feel they aren't able to give the kind of care that they'd hoped to.
And also they are not getting the adequate support.
Right.
You know, when you think about the recommendations with regards to adequate and robust training for all, that training is not only what we have in the classroom or what we do on the computer. It is also one-to-one to get help and teaching from the more experienced midwives. Yeah, and there is lack of experience now as well, which is massive.
Have you been asked to return to the profession at all? Have they made any offers to you? Would you consider it?
If they had asked me, I would have stayed at a blink of an eye because I took early retirement. I'm still young, fit, healthy, and I keep saying that I was at the best time of my professional life.
Why did you take early retirement then? I have to ask.
I took early retirement because really of the pattern of the shifts. So you could actually, because it's the computer now, which it does the off-duty for us, so you could actually be working on a Sunday night and Monday morning your holiday starts.
Right, OK, which kind of bleeds into your holiday, really.
Bleeds into your holiday.
So you get less holiday.
So if I could actually have a good... And this is what the girls are all upset about with regards to their annual leave and holidays. They are not approved early when they are approved. And this is all in the country. And when it is approved, it's far too late for you to book something, or you are going to be losing, as you said, bleeding into your annual leave. So, yeah, and I was young and I wanted to get out there and...
I've had enough of this.
It's just so sad to hear, you know, somebody as talented as you, and to hear about these new recruits who are drawn to what is a beautiful job. It is a wonderful job. I've often thought I would love to be a midwife. I mean, seeing new life come into the world is a vocation, but for people to be leaving in their droves because they aren't able to give the care that they want to has to be a huge tragedy. And I suppose what the problem with all of this is, you know, when women are coming through and having babies, a lot of them, it's their only experience of coming into the NHS.
Yeah.
And if they're having bad experiences, the worst experience being that they lose, heaven forbid, their child.
And they are very vulnerable. They are at their most vulnerable. It's an experience that they have never had before. And when you've got situations like this on the news, it is petrifying. And our job as midwives and obstetricians is to reassure them that we are keeping them safe and we are doing our utmost to make sure that they are safe.